Ports, power, and peace. China's rise in the Horn amid US retreat. Hi, I'm Jalani Taswaye, and this is Analytica Today. As US tariffs on Chinese goods soared to destabilizing levels, China quietly shifted its gaze toward the Horn of Africa, deploying diplomats, drones, ships, and cash to win partners in a region that controls access to the Red Sea and Suez Canal. The renewed US trade war under President Trump was meant to curb Beijing's global ambitions. Yet, China has turned economic pain into diplomatic gain by intensifying its outreach in the Horn of Africa, a region of immense strategic value where maritime choke points meet fragile states. Instead of retaliating solely with tariffs, Beijing is deploying soft and hard power to build alliances, secure resources, and project an image of steadiness amid Washington's unpredictability. China's engagement in the Horn dates back to the late 2000s when it began anti-piracy patrols off Somalia's coast. Over time, this evolved into deeper ties. Djibouti base. In August 2017, Beijing inaugurated its first overseas military base in Djibouti, hosting some 400 Marines to support anti-piracy missions and safeguard Chinese investments along the maritime Silk Road. Special Envoy. In January 2022, Foreign Minister Wang Yi announced the appointment of a dedicated special envoy for the Horn of Africa, signaling that Beijing now treats the region as a standalone diplomatic theater rather than a peripheral concern. High-level visits. Chinese leaders, including Premier Li Qiang and President Xi Jinping, have repeatedly hosted Eritrean and Ethiopian counterparts in Beijing, casting the Horn as essential to China's vision of an all-weather community in Africa. Meanwhile, Beijing's civil and commercial instruments, ports at Berbera, Somaliland, road corridors in Ethiopia, and telecom ventures in Eritrea laid the groundwork for today's political push. With tariffs biting at home, China has doubled down on its Horn strategy through three main strands. China's new Horn envoy, Xi Bing, has crisscrossed Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Somalia to mediate local conflicts and promote economic cooperation, choices that contrast with Washington's more intermittent engagement. In early 2025, Wang Yi's tour of Namibia, Chad, and Nigeria underscored that Africa remains a top priority even as US policymakers fixate on China's specific ambitions. At the September 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, Beijing committed nearly $51 billion in new funding, including loans, grants, and private investments, while promising 1 million jobs across Africa. Though this pledge spans the whole continent, Horn states stand to benefit from infrastructure upgrades, free trade zones, and green energy projects to boost regional connectivity and resilience. Beyond ports and roads, China is supplying Horn countries with drones, telecom networks, and surveillance systems, part of a broader space alliance that sees Beijing donating satellites and ground stations to African partners. This technology transfer binds recipients to Chinese standards and provides Beijing with valuable intelligence on a maritime crossroads long dominated by Western naives. This technology transfer binds recipients to Chinese standards and provides Beijing with valuable intelligence on a maritime crossroads long dominated by Western navies. The convergence of trade war pressure and Horn-focused strategy marks a geopolitical turning point. Maritime domination. Control over Djibouti and potential port projects in Eritrea and Somaliland could give China a stronghold on shipping routes to Europe, challenging US and French naval hegemony. Political leverage. By stepping in as peace broker in Ethiopia's Tigray crisis and Sudan's civil war, China is cementing its reputation as a non-Western power capable of delivering stability, a contrast to the transactional nature of US sanctions and aid cuts. Shift in Global South alignment. The Horn's 11 nations wield 4% of UN votes. Their bloc support can tip multilateral decisions. As Horn governments lean into Chinese partnership, Beijing's push against US influence gains momentum. These developments suggest that Trump's tariffs may have backfired. Beijing's Horn drive has accelerated just as US attention drifts, positioning China to fill in vacuums in security, infrastructure, and political mediation. China's response to America's trade offensive is not simply to raise tariffs in kind, but to deepen its foothold in strategic regions like the Horn of Africa. By appointing a special envoy, opening a Djibouti base, leveraging FOCAC pledges, and exporting security technologies, Beijing is crafting a multipolar architecture where US dominance is diluted. As Horn states increasingly look east for investment and stability, Washington faces a pivotal choice: re-engage decisively in the Red Sea corridor or risk ceding influence to a rising Beijing that is using Trump's trade war as a cover to rewrite the rules of global power. I'm Jalani Tesfaye, and this is Analytica Today.